Hello and welcome to the IMF annual meetings in Washington, DC. I'm here with Henrik Raber, Global Head of Capital Markets at Standard Chartered. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for taking time.
Henrik, we all know that it's a policy goal in many countries around the world to encourage more borrowers to tap the capital markets, both to diversify their funding, but also to reduce the pressure on bank balance sheets. Which emerging markets do you see making the biggest strides in this regard, either in terms of developing a local capital market or in terms of international issuance?
Well, this year the Asian markets have been the busiest, and particularly from China. We've seen a huge amount of issuance and significant increase in volumes. But in terms of markets that are probably progressing the most are the African markets, which are both issuing US dollar bonds and local currency bonds. And I'd say that's West and East Coast Africa. That's a very exciting arena for us. Some of the frontier markets are developing their onshore and offshore capabilities. Vietnam is one, and we think these markets will continue to grow. Driving some of these is also some strong governmental support in the various regions, and that's going to be a good initiative to continue the growth.
Okay, and then moving on to some of the developed markets. This month, the US Federal Reserve is set to start reducing its balance sheet, which obviously grew sort of rather substantially as a result of the post-crisis stimulus program. And in Europe, the European Central Bank is supposed to set out plans this month about how it will go about unwinding QE. What could this mean for the bond markets next year in terms of issuance opportunities?
Well, the majority are predicting that this is going to be creating some issues for the markets. I think from our side, both the US and the ECB changing tact on their QE programs is extremely well telegraphed. So investors are aware of this. So we think that the impact in terms of primary issuance in our capital markets is actually going to be quite limited. Still a huge amount of liquidity available. A lot of investors are also shifting their investments from the developed markets into the emerging markets. So we think there's going to be very strong demand. And on the borrowing side, with the growth starting to increase in Asia, some of the companies will need more capital expenditure. So for us, we're upbeat.
I wanted to ask you about green bonds. It's obviously a big buzz topic, and issuance has grown exponentially, and more investors are considering sustainability criteria. But at the same time, it's still a tiny portion of global bond markets. What do you think the market's going to look like in, say, 5 years' time?
I think in 5 years' time, green bonds, or what we more often talk to about sustainability, will be a core holding in most investors' portfolios. It's been a huge amount of growth, and actually China's been leading some of the green bond initiatives. From our issuers, nearly everyone wants to look at doing green financing or sustainable financing, and the bond markets are a great way to come up with innovative solutions around sustainability. And sustainability doesn't have to be just green or climate. It could also be around creating jobs, creating specific opportunities within a country for various specific needs. So we think it's going to be a really good market.
You've mentioned China a few times already. It's obviously a very difficult market to ignore in many senses, but including as a bond market, it's obviously the third biggest in the world, about $9.3 trillion. And it's the efforts to liberalise it have continued sort of over the past 12 months. We've got more panda bonds, we've got the Bond Connect opening this year. To what extent is it an untapped opportunity for foreign issuers and investors?
Well, for the investors to access the onshore market is a huge opportunity. With relatively minimal investments today, that could have significant impact, and Bond Connect has been a huge success already. So we're really excited about that, and that's a big step forward in liberalization. Onshore, that gives the investors the access to new credits, new types of financing opportunities. But China overall, I think, is going to continue to grow its total issuance volumes, and will probably be the number two. And not, if you look forward 20, 30 years, it could even be the world's largest bond market. So that is a huge opportunity. And they're also developing the type of deals they're doing. So they're also doing more green, as we talked about earlier, but they're also doing more securitization transactions. So the whole market is developing very rapidly and is probably one of our most exciting spots in terms of capital markets today.
Henrik, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.